Hi everybody, this is Pramita here, and today I'm going to show you how I make these tiny clusters uh, in a very easy way, you can say. So, what I have, are some mesh kind of fabric, and we're going to start that process by using these. So, even before I proceed further, welcome ladies to my channel. If you are a subscriber, then thank you for subscribing and hanging along. If you have not yet subscribed, then it's a humble request from me to subscribe. So these are some pearls that I have. They are from Prima, and it is by Frank Garcia. So I might add these to my clusters, and this is in the rose gold and um, pearl color, the natural pearl colors. So initially I'm going to start off with these meshy fabrics. So I get them in a roll sort of thing, and I'm just going to tell you the dimension. So this is around 4 inches. So I'm just going to trim it from the middle. It's not exactly 4 inches, a little bit less probably, so I'm just going to trim them in half. So it's totally up to you how you want the size to be. If you want it bigger, then you can make it bigger, but I like to stick to a medium to small size, not too big, because I don't make very big journals, so they don't work for me basically. So here I have this layered up. So when I'm layering the fabrics up, I try to not layer them just one on top of the other right away. I put them at an angle, so you can see it's kind of a crisscross position. So I have 4 pieces over here, and we can make 8 clusters out of that. It totally depends upon the size you want or the size you are creating. So here the size is such that I can make 8 clusters, which some will be tiny, small, not tiny, some will be small, and some will not be so small. So that's that. And here I will just trim off the rest. So as I was saying, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, then please think of subscribing. And if you like this video, then consider hitting the like button. It would mean a lot to me. And please don't forget to leave a comment. I know I'm so behind in replying to the comments, but I'm reading them, of course, and I'm getting back to them slowly and surely. So this is a kind of a bigger piece that I have, so I just decided that okay, I'm going to make a bigger cluster, probably not too big, because it would not be very big because the base is small. So I'm just trying to layer that up, and that piece is very crumpled up sort of thing, but it doesn't matter, I'll fix that when I'm working on that. So we already have these 5, 6, 7, 8 clusters laid down, ready to be worked on, bases basically. So here I'm threading my needle. Yes, I'm going to do that with needle and thread, and this is the view that you get. So I've tried to thread that needle, but I found that that was a thicker needle, so I want something thinner, and I will be using something of a thinner needle. I'm going to put that needle away. That's my sewing box, not sewing box, but just some random thread and needle that I require most of the time. I keep it in that tea box. By the way, I love small tin boxes. It has that old world charm to it. I do have a lot of those. Some are new, some are pretty old. Some I even have from when my grandmother, my father's mom, she had handed me over. So this is my lace box, not the box, the basket, but this is only one of them. I do have quite a few of these, I think two or three. So I, you know, regularly I dig into these boxes when I need scraps, because that makes things easier for me. Also, I keep certain things which I know I'm going to be using in my clusters, uh, so I can, get hold of them. Like this one, this is not a strip or cluster or whatever, it was just a big roll. I've just trimmed a portion off and kept in that basket, ready to be used whenever I need them. But these are all scraps. I can make tabs out of them. I can just create clusters. I can just add them on pockets. So these are all scraps from bigger lace materials or lace strips, leftovers. So I don't keep them along with the bigger ones, bigger pieces. So I know I'm going to use these, so I'm just selecting some of the items that I will be using. And I will be also sharing a few method tips that I usually follow when I'm working on projects like this. So you should watch this till the end, so that you have an idea what are the things that I usually do when I'm working on certain things like this. Now I have placed my camera at an angle pretty far away from the top, because this requires a little bit of clear vision, so that you know what I'm actually talking about. There's no rocket science to it, it's just that it's my process, how I do it. And I have seen so many people do it, but I can't say. So this is another box of scrap laces. Mostly I have colored pieces in it, but some of them are in neutral tones. So I'm just trying to my needle has been threaded and I am ready to work on the pieces. Now how do I do it? So as you can see, I have already lined up 8 pieces. And trust me, when you're working on a project like this, it's best to work in assembly line production, because that makes so many things easier. You can make quite a bit within a very short span of time, because see, you're going to be using lace scraps, you're going to be using maybe buttons, some pearls, something to adorn these things, and they will be basically same. So I just trimmed up a little bit of lace from a stretchy kind of lace that I have, and this is a vintage lace material that I've just cut up. So some of these laces are going to be new and some are going to be old. This is a stretchy kind of fabric lace that I have. I put that down. So each of them will have a different kind of layer. And this is a net meshy kind of, not mesh, but some sort of a knitted crocheted material I bought recently. This is not vintage. And as I said, I'm just digging around. So this is a piece of fabric that I have, and what I'll do is I'll just trim off a little bit, tear it off. I'll just take some threads off, and then I'm going to add that to the piece. So I'm just layering them down. This is the third layer, as you can see, but there can be more, there can be just 3, so it depends. But keep in mind that you have to put something on the top that will condense everything together. It will bring everything together. You have to be careful about that, otherwise it will not make sense. So it can be a floral bit from a lace, it can be anything that you like, maybe some part of a fabric, some floral element. You can just fussy cut that out, cut it out and put it on top. So it can be anything, but I found that this helps to bind everything together. So again, I'm looking for some kind of scraps that will be a little bit different from the ones that I've used. See, I've used all different kinds of scraps. No two scrap is similar. Again, some embroidered fabric that I have, and I'm just digging into this. I need to make more of these clusters because honestly these are excellent when you add them to your journals. They instantly give a pop. But what I try to keep in mind is I try to keep them in neutral shades once again, because I'm not sure where I'm going to put them in. If I'm working on a floral journal, that's fine, but if I'm working on a bird journal, and if I'm working on a blue journal and I have them in, one in pink, one in yellow, one in blue, so I might not be able to use it. So it's best to keep them in neutral shades, and then you will have use for them in any kind of journal you're working. So I'm just trying to add those pieces and create layers. This is going to be a long process. I have not sped up the process. I plan on sharing all the thought process that goes into these kind of things, and I hope you get inspired by these and try and do something like this. If you do, please share. You can tag me along. If you are in my Facebook group, then post there. I would love to see your creations. And if I'm sounding a little bit less energetic, that's because I'm in immense pain. I am full of pain medications, and you must be wondering how Pramita is laughing through this. That's the only thing I can do right now. Nothing is in my hands, as I said in my previous video. This is an old injury I had, and it just decides to flare up at this point of time. I must have hurt my leg somewhere because I go out for an evening walk, which turns into an evening run, you can say, because I need to keep my weight down. And trust me, after a point of time, you people must be understanding this, because I am no spring chicken. I cannot lose weight as fast as I could when I was in my 20s and 30s. So I have to be I have to put in more effort just to reduce my weight. And I do not have a very physically active lifestyle, so that I will lose my weight. I can keep a check on my weight. So that's one of the things. And this is just a scrap of fabric that I had. I loved this fabric. I don't have it anymore, and I can't get it anymore. And this was hand embroidered, and it had sequins inside. And what I did was, it was a creamish colored fabric. Then I've tea dyed that, and how lovely it looks. It had those floral elements, and gosh, I wish I had bought more, but I didn't have the foresight. I thought I would. I didn't know when I was buying it that I will love it so much, but now that when it's gone, literally gone, I I can't get it anymore. So I have this mesh fabric piece which I'm going to add. Now when I want to add extra layers, I can always go back and add laces, but I also add these meshed fabrics. Now I am putting them at a crisscross level. You will see the purpose behind doing that. That is a trick that you can follow to create layers, and also adding some sort of textures without this thing being too texture heavy. You will see what I mean once I finish sewing these up. So I'm going to start sewing the first one, because as I go, each one of them is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be the same. And I usually use a piece of cardstock or paper, something to support this, because that makes gluing this on the paper easier, because paper and paper will have a better grip. And as I said, I do not have access to Fabritech, so this is also one trick that I do to have better adherence. That is one thing. And the other thing is that when you put it on a piece of paper, you immediately elevate that to a certain height. Not much. I'm not saying you use foam dots or anything of that sort. You don't need to use that. That will be too elevated perhaps. But this one, it just slightly lifts up your cluster from the base, and that is what makes it a bit more interesting. That is a little that is one of the little secret that I'm sharing with you people. You can try and do it. Don't use too thick a paper, then it is going to be difficult for you to stitch through, because you're doing it with hand. You might hurt yourself, but this is a fairly good thick pattern paper that I had. I just wanted to use it up, and I had that scrap. That's it. So I'm just stitching this button. I've used a gray colored button. As I said, I try to keep it in the neutral form, and then you will see what I'm going to try and do. So I'm going to be using a pearl, and I'm going to put that on top, and you will see the instantaneous result. As soon as I put that pearl in, it is transformed into something else. I try to do things like this, which is very simple, which is probably nothing extraordinary, but it will give that special look to your project. So I've added a pearl there. You can add any bead you want. If you're making suppose you're making a blue journal, you can add this to your blue journal, and add a blue bead to it, so that it ties everything together. You can do that. It works beautifully. So I'm just trimming this off, and now I'll begin the finishing process. You'll see how I do that. So I'm going to take off the extra paper I don't need, and I'm cutting it in such a way so that I don't cut off the entire cluster, of course, but I'm taking off that extra bit. I want this to be a little bit elevated when I place it on the project itself. So I'm just taking off those papers, and now what I'll do is I'm going to take off the the threads from the meshy fabrics that I've used, and I don't throw away the threads also. I keep them. Sometimes I just add them while I'm stitching if I feel that I need something extra. So I'm just trying to create that tatty kind of look over here, and I'm just trying to see whether it's possible to take out more. And just see, when we started this off, when we started this cluster, it was not like this, and as I went along, it became something else. So I can trim that round squarish portion and give it a rounded shape. I'm just taking that off. So if you keep it squarish, you can give this a rounded shape. So that's done. So one done, and then we're going to start working on the other. So I have my needle already threaded, and I'll keep on working with the rest. And again, I have already put down 3 layers, and now I will put in some more. So So one thing I would highly recommend is when you're working on clusters like this, layer them up at irregular corners. Like, don't layer them up one after the other. Put them at an angle so that when you take off the threads or when you finish everything, uh, they will have that clustery tatty kind of look, without any issues whatsoever. I have done it. This is a foolproof method, you can say, and this is a trick that I'm sharing with you people because you are special. um, and I'm just trying to snip off that lace flower, but it's too big according to me, and also I don't need that white. It's too much of white, so I'm going to ink this off. If I had the time, I would have sprayed a little bit of water so that in the stain would bleed through and give it a more blended kind of look. So maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure about that. Maybe I'm going to spray a little bit of water once I finish doing everything. So if I have the time, I'll definitely go and do that. And if I remember, because as I said, my voice is sounding so dull and very uninspiring maybe to you. So I'm just layering this up on again that same strip of paper. I'm just cutting tiny rectangles and I'm going to stitch this. um, you can stitch it from the top also. In that case, don't tie a knot, just leave it open. You can go through the button and then tie a bow sort of thing. Maybe I'm going to do something of that sort, but I'm not sure. um, Usually I start from the back. That's how I work. So I'm going to add a piece of button again. uh, I have seen so many people do it, and each of them have done it in a different way. This is my version of doing this, and I think this is the simplest version that can be. And what I said again before is that I try to go for things which are simple and which are appealing. That is my process. I do not use a lot of stuff, but it's the placement of the stuff that matters. So I could have added more layers. I could have added a satin flower if I had it. Of course, I could have tried it, but there's nothing wrong in using it. But it's just that it's not my style. I don't use such things. I just try to go with simpler things which will appeal to you. So I made a boo-boo over there. I stitched it in the wrong place, so I had to redo it, re-knot it, you can say. And then I'm starting all over again, stitching this. So now I'm going to try and put the button in once I've fixed the cluster, and you'll see how it looks. So I'm just going to put the button in. I could have done this video without any voiceover, because it hardly requires any explanation. It's no rocket science. People have done it before, and there are numerous videos on YouTube showing how they make their lace fabric clusters. Basically, I try to use more lace than fabric, honestly. So but I thought that this is my method, and this is, I think, one of the simplest processes that I could come up with. So and you can see it hardly takes any time if you are if you have everything close by, ready to go. Then you can definitely finish this as quickly as possible. Like, we can finish 8 in half an hour. But it's just like, since I'm talking to you, it's taking up a little bit of time, and that's it. And otherwise, it's pretty good. timing, you can do a lot within a very short period of time. And unfortunately, my desire was to make very tiny clusters. Unfortunately, these clusters are not turning out to be very tiny. They are smallish, but they are not tiny. So if you want to see tinier clusters, then probably I'll have to do another video. I started this off with the view that I'm going to make tiny clusters, but no ma'am, I couldn't do it. It's something. So I'm still working on the second, third cluster that we are doing. So let's see how much we can do, and probably I'm going to do just a few, and then I'll be back to show you how I have finished the rest of them, because it's the same process. The tips are probably the same, and it's just that I'm going to add a pearl or a button or something of that sort. So that's it. So yeah, I think I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to go back and complete the rest and come back to show you, give you a brief explanation of what I've done to them. So I think that would be best, but let's see. So I'm just adding that. I will be making a few more because these are very, very addictive, as I say. And when you're making clusters like this, you make them in a bunch. That's the best, it's the best mass making project, personally, for me, because I can use them in many ways. I can use them in many journals, so I don't have to use them in a certain journal only. So I can make them in bulk and keep it, and then use them as I need. So I'll probably be making more of these in this week, and add them in the journals. So that's one of the plan that I have. But I'm a very poor person in planning, not in planning as such, to execute the plan, because some unforeseen events will evidently crop up, which will derail my plans. So this is how the three of them are looking, and I will be back to show you the rest, how they will look. So I'm just digging into more scraps so that I can layer things up. Probably I'll just add this little bit of mesh. This fabric is very, very good, this meshy crocheted. This is a huge piece I bought. This is not vintage, but it is awesome, and it can be used in many ways. You can create pockets, you can create clusters, you can create journal covers, whatever takes your fancy. And I'm just digging into my lace scraps. So this is a time when I get indecisive, but still I think I do fairly well. I know that I might be using, so I can use that. That's like like a part of an earring sort of thing. You can add colored laces also, but as I said, I try to keep them as neutral as possible. So I'll be stitching that up and come back to show you how it looks. So again, I have that paper backing ready. I'm going to stitch this. This took me a little bit of trouble, caused me a little bit of trouble, because the topping lace material that I had, that earring sort of thing that I'm talking about, that was pretty thick, and it caused a little bit of trouble. Otherwise it was okay, like as expected. They are going to bunch up, and then you have to fix that. So again, I'm looking for some buttons. So I need to get all my buttons organized. I do have a lot of buttons. I do have some mother of pearl buttons also. and I'm using that black teeny tiny one. um, Again, I go more for neutral shades, as I said, because I find that more useful. Now I can always use a pink button, I can always use a blue button, but I'm not sure where I'm going to use these clusters, so I'm just keeping them open for all kinds of projects. Also, I personally I like to keep them like this. Maybe that's why I do it. So anyways, um, this, as I said, this is giving me a lot of trouble. This lace was pretty very thick, and I will show you more as I get to get to finish a few more, and show you the end result. So I'm just taking off the threads as I usually do, and create that tatty kind of clustery look. So that's my personal preference. You can always do something else, and this is not the only method that you can follow, but this is my method. So I will be back to show you. Okay, so I'm back after I have nearly completed all of them except one, and this is the one that I'm talking about, the last one, and I've finished rest of them. So again, I'm digging into my stash of lace toppers or whatever. So I'm going to use this. This was also used in quite a few of the clusters that I did. This is not very tiny, but of course I can make some tiny ones later on just to add them. Now when I'm making tiny ones, I do not add so many layers. The more layers I'm going to add, the more dimension it's going to get, and it might get bigger in size. So when I'm working on a tiny cluster, I do not add more than 2 layers, and that helps me to keep everything condensed. So I'm adding this little uh, duo of floral elements on a lace, just to make something different. Everyone might not be, each of the lace clusters that I've done is different from the other, and I usually do it like this, but if you want, you can make the same things. But since I had different lace bits and pieces, I usually do things like this. So that's it. So I'm just tying that knot off, and then we are done. So I have all the 8 clusters that we had laid down initially finished, and I'm going to trim that strip of lace because it's looking odd, and I'm going to take off the threads as usual and make it more tatty looking. And so I'm taking off that extra paper backing that might peek through. I don't want that. I just want this to have a support. So now we have finished all our clusters, mini clusters, and now you'll see how they look. So what I've done is I have my needle, need to put that aside so that I don't lose it. So this was one, this was another one, this is another one, this is the other one, This is the other one. So 6, 7, and this is the eighth one. So you can see I have made 8, and the tiny one at the top is the one that I had done before. That was the tiny cluster. I'll probably make some smaller clusters also, and it's the same formula, but you just have to add lesser layers. So bye everybody, have a great day.